Okay, good afternoon, everybody. And well, Kayse Shrum, congratulations.
Thank you.
This was a real thrill for all of us, and I really want to. We're socially distanced, by the way, and that's why we're without masks. I think it's a good opportunity to get acquainted a little bit, or people better acquainted with you, and so I'm gonna play Johnny Carson here, whoever it is, and try to. But I kind of go back. You were raised in Coweta, and kind of take us. You went to Connors.
Yeah. So I was born in Tulsa, raised in Coweta, and ended up really by way of college athletics, going to college, and went to Connors State.
You were a softball pitcher.
I was a softball pitcher. So that was really what I was looking forward to doing in the future, was playing softball. And I really was a good student anyway, but I really had wanted to just kind of continue playing softball. And
were you kind of a tomboy?
I actually was. I was the closest thing my dad had to a boy. So, and I loved sports. And so I played at Connors, and while I was there, really didn't have much of an idea of what I wanted to do, but I was taking science classes because I had always enjoyed science and thought it was really interesting, and I took a physiology class. And my professor, after class, asked me to stay and wanted to visit with me a little bit. And of course, yeah, I was, shy, kind of a little bit quiet, and thought, oh no, what did I do? And he asked me if I was going to medical school. And that was really something that I had never thought about. I was just showing up every day trying to, do the best I could. And he said, you have the highest grade in my class, and I really think you should consider medicine as a career. And that's what I did, which ended up leading me to the OSU College of Osteopathic Medicine, and had a wonderful experience there. And I couldn't imagine getting a better education that prepared me for the practice of medicine. But
and your specialty?
Pediatrics.
Pediatrics.
Yes. So, and the funny thing about that was my very first day of medical school, you come in, you sit down, you don't know anyone. And I'm sitting next to this girl, and she said, "So what do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, I don't know, but I know I don't want to be a pediatrician." And so, of course, today that my life looks so much different. I am a pediatrician, lots of kids, and kids have just been a part of my life. So I always say, be careful what you think you know.
Yeah.
Because, and so I ended up being a pediatrician, practiced in Muskogee for a period of time, and then came back to the university as a faculty member in 2002. So the day I interviewed for this position was 19 years. It was the 19-year anniversary of my start at Oklahoma State University, which was very kind of surreal. But at the same time, it was April Fool's Day, so I don't know what that says about me.
So you were a faculty member. Did you practice as well?
I did. So I practiced in the Department of Pediatrics. We had medical students, and we did lectures in the first 2 years, but mostly spent time with third and fourth year students, and then taught residents in the pediatric program. Eventually became the chair of the pediatric department, and spent, about 8 years doing that. And
then Burns Hargis showed up.
And then, yes, you know that story. So applied as the dean in 2011, and you appointed me as the dean, and then later as the president of the Center for Health Sciences.
Well, before we talk some more about all that, let's get back to your family.
Yes.
When did you and Darren meet?
Well, so I was headed to Walmart to get some things at the house, and
and you ended up
I
with
found
Darren.
a lot of stuff for the house. I met Darren at Walmart, and
he was a manager, right?
He was a
trainee.
manager. He was in a management training program for Walmart, and he was standing at the front door greeting people, and I guess looking for his future wife, and he found me, and that was 29 years ago.
And since then, you've brought six children home.
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So Darren and I have 6 children, 3 of which are biological children, and 3 of which we adopted from Ethiopia. And they range in age from 24 to 19. And we have 3 19-year-olds, 2 21-year-olds, and a 24-year-old. So I refer to the babies as the triplets, and then we have the older 3.
So what caused you to want to go adopt? Did you not have a biological child at the time?
Yes, actually, when we adopted, our kids were 10, 12, and 14, and we adopted Clinton and Joseph, and they were 10 and 12. Really early on, when Darren and I was in medical school, and we were really considering having a family. And I had a series of miscarriages, and at that time, we were really thinking we needed to think differently about how we would have a family, because that was important to me. And we started thinking at that time, perhaps adoption. And I obviously went on to have, 3 children, but that was really still in our heart. And we kind of got to a point where we had been respite foster parents and almost adopted a sibling group. And that really just started the thought again about, we just thought it would be so wonderful. And I always, tell people, as we started that process, we really thought we want to open our home and bless these kids and, provide them with this family. And, honestly, we've been blessed beyond measure.
Why Ethiopia?
We had a friend who was adopting from Ethiopia, several friends that had adopted from Ethiopia, and I started researching. And, we realized that, there were a lot of older boys in orphanages there that really needed a home, and we just felt like that's what we were supposed to do. And so Darren went and visited Ethiopia, and, of course, just beautiful people, kind, gentle, and it was just a wonderful experience, and that's what we decided to do.
And then talk about the third adoption.
Yes. So at the time, we were adopting 3. Actually, we went over, we were planning to, really, our thought was 1. We were going to adopt 1, and then, we had learned a little bit about it's probably better to, if you're adopting older children, to have multiple children, because, it's such a transition for them.
Right.
And so we were thinking of adopting 2. And then, during Darren's visit to Ethiopia, at an orphanage, he met another little boy. And so we had decided, well, we'll adopt 3. And as we were moving through the process, Kayse, who is our 3rd son, his orphanage was shut down, and they moved all the children, and they didn't know where they moved him to. And so he was 10 at the time, and we weren't able to bring him home until he was 13. And so they called us, and when they found him about 2 years later in a different orphanage, and said, are you still willing to adopt him? And of course, without a doubt, we are. So, so we have 6. So we went from 3 to 6 very quickly, but it has, I love a big family. My parents were from big families, and I always thought it was wonderful on the holidays, and my cousins, and so I'm the youngest of 2, so we didn't have a big family, but I really like having a big family.
Obviously.
It's every holiday's a party, every dinner's a party, so it's great.
How would they have the coincidence about Ethiopia, of course, is
Yes.
OSU's history with Ethiopia.
Yes.
When we started
Yes.
Haramaya University.
Yeah.
Just out of Diradawa. Well, that is an amazing irony. So let's talk a little bit about when you started to think about maybe applying for this job.
Yeah. Well, I actually remember, one time in the O Club, and you were talking, and you were, kind of looking to the future and thinking about, the potential of retirement, and I was standing there listening to you, and I thought, wow, what, and I hear Ann say all the time, if there's ever an opportunity to, if you have the opportunity, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be a president, and obviously at Oklahoma State. And, one of the reasons why I went into medicine is because, I really want to make a difference. And, I enjoy working, but it's just so much more meaningful if I can connect to the mission and know what we're doing makes a difference. And so I really got to see how to fulfill that land-grant mission and learn more about the land-grant mission and ways to connect what we did at the Center for Health Sciences in a meaningful way and solve some of society's most pressing issues and, provide an education that, was transformational for me in my life. And so just thinking about, when you announced your retirement, that the ability to have, to make a difference and to, at a grander scale, and it was really appealing to me. And of course, I love Oklahoma State University. Having graduated from the medical school, I truly feel like that education has really given me the opportunity to be able to do all the things that I've been able to do in my life. And
you've had a number of significant accomplishments during your tenure as dean and president. The enrollment in the medical school has doubled. You just really opened a new medical school in Tahlequah that the Cherokee Nation provided. And now you're embarking on a new VA hospital and psychiatric hospital.
Yes.
So talk a little bit as when you were Secretary of Science and Innovation. Of course, when you accepted that, when you called me about that job, I didn't think it was going to be anything that would get in the way of your activities otherwise. And lo and behold, here comes COVID.
Yes. Yeah.
Take us through that experience.
Yeah. So, as you said, I was really serving as the Secretary for Science and Innovation. Jerome Lothridge was serving as the Secretary of Health, and he and I worked very closely together as in his cabinet position, with me being a physician and the only physician on the cabinet. And, I was really working with industry and research. And, of course, we get our first case of COVID in Oklahoma, and I got a phone call from the governor's chief of staff and said, "What are you doing, Kayse?" And I said, "Well,
I'm
I
running
don't
a medical
know.
school.
I
I'm
don't
running
know. Why are you asking?" And he said, "Well, we have a job just for you." And so, when someone says it like that, it's going to be a task. But so I went to Oklahoma City and, really through the pandemic lived there. My family was back in Coweta and the kids had come home. And so, they're here at the university, and as everybody's going home, they have friends. And so they would call me and say, "Mom, do you mind if so-and-so just, goes to the house and stays for a few weeks?" And of course I'm yeah, sure. And Darren's at home going, "Did you say yes again?" "Yes, I did." But it was, I really felt honored that they would ask me to serve in that capacity and felt the gravity of what was happening.
And
in our
the
state.
capacity was to execute the response to the pandemic.
Yes.
The
serve on the task force.
well, and you also, I think, with our vet school and with our Vice President of Research, Ken Sewell, realized that we could process those PCR tests a lot faster than anybody else was.
Yes. And actually, before I even got the call, I knew that we were having problems in the state with testing, and we were having to send them out to these regional laboratories, and everyone was sending their
10
testing.
days before
you were getting the results at 10, 14 days, and that's way too late to mount a response. And so I was sitting at my conference table with my senior vice president, and I was telling him, we need to figure out how to help them with this. And he was kind of giving me that look like, do we? And we called and talked to Ken Sewell, and he was saying, no, we have all of these opportunities we have the laboratory with the animal diagnostic lab sitting here. And then probably within 2 or 3 hours, I got the phone call from the governor and went to Oklahoma City. And his first thing he said to me was, Kayse, we have to solve this testing problem. And he called on the universities to be innovative and to, really help us out in that situation. And Oklahoma State, between the medical school partnering with the vet school in this state-of-the-art, I think that was one of the things people didn't understand is the Oklahoma Animal Diagnostic Laboratory is a state-of-the-art genetics laboratory for animals, but it's processing the same type of samples. And so we were able to, really get a CLIA-waived laboratory to do human testing up and running in 7 days, which is just remarkable. And
I went over to the lab and I asked them, I said, "Why? How do you do this so fast?" And they said, "We're used to dealing with herds."
Yeah, and it was, just, it was so important to the state because we started running the majority of the COVID test. And when Oklahomans saw all of the county health departments open their swab pods, those were being processed here at OSU. And we were turning those results around in, 40 hours, which is very impressive. And everybody really came together. You had the National Guard. They were, transporting things for us to here, and specimens to the lab. So, Oklahoma really did very, very well. And I was very proud of Oklahoma State University, just in the way everyone here would, just say, what do we need to do?
I wish we had time to get into some of the other things like the opioid Purdue settlement, $190 million or something for the wellness and recovery program in Tulsa. There's so many things, but let me turn to look into the future a little bit with this job. So you probably already will be consumed before you ever get to July 1st.
Yes.
When they put me out to pasture.
We're not going to do that.
But what are some of your hopes and aspirations for this position? Or you probably had time to think about that a little bit.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm not just saying this because you're my boss till the July 1st, but you've done just a tremendous job in, transforming Oklahoma State and just, building such a really building some momentum and bringing people together around Oklahoma State. And, what I would love to, continue forward is focusing on, academic excellence and growing academic programs in research and really creating, continuing to build on this, the student experience and how we support students and make, this a wonderful experience for them. And, I've had kind of those experiences with the medical school of, as you said, the opioid settlement or, the pandemic center and those kind of things. And so research is really a background of mine. And, as you said, student enrollment has grown, and
we're a Carnegie Tier 1 research institution, but we could certainly do more. And I am excited about the prospects of your leading that direction.
Yeah.
I'm an accountant and a lawyer, so it's.
Well, like I was saying, there's just been so much, momentum and great things happening that I get to come and build upon the great work that's already going on. And so, I'm really looking forward to that.
Well, we are too, Kayse. Yeah. We really are. Now it might be a good time to bring the family out. How's that?
Yes, they are all here.
Let's see, I think Darren.
I think this is.
Here we go.
We'll get him.
Why don't you introduce them as they come in?
This is Colton. He's my oldest son, Kendall. My oldest daughter, Clinton, and Carson, and Joseph, and of course this is Darren. I introduced him the other day. 29 years of marriage and the first cowboy.
There you go.
The first.
And you've got one more.
Oh, yes. So Kaysen could not be here today because He is playing soccer on a scholarship in Arkansas, but he has a history test today, and so Mom said, no, you have to stay there and take your test.
Does that surprise any of you all? Well,
So-
Darren, you're getting ready to climb on a real bucking bronco here for the next few years. Tell me how you feel about it.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I've been meeting with the first cowgirl already several times, and so she's kind of giving me a little bit of the lay of the land and kind of what to expect and what we should focus on and those type things. And just such a huge opportunity. And I think the thing I'm looking forward to most is probably interacting with the students. I've always worked with youth, younger people, and in various capacities outside my professional career. But I just can't wait to get involved. So it's really what I'm looking forward to the most, I think.
We've got a lot of construction going on around here, and you've done a lot of that, so that'll be helpful. Free labor, you can't beat it.
Strong back, that's right, strong back. So that'll be good. Anytime, you bet.
That's right. Talk about Kayse's, we don't want to embarrass her here, but talk about her strengths. Why is she ideal for this position?
Kayse and I have known each other for, I guess, 30 plus years, and we've been married for 29 in May. And, I wouldn't say we sort of grew up together, but I guess you might say that. And just, over the years, she's a very loyal person and very true. And I think the best word to describe her probably is her humility, humble. She is what you get, and she's always been that way. She's never changed. She's really a ball cap and jeans wearing type person. That's really what she'd rather have on right now. But she's just down to earth, and she's always remembered, where she came from. And I think it just helps her to really relate to people, and people are attracted just to her personality and just her overall able to trust her. So
talk a little bit about your background. I know you're from Arkansas. Went to school there?
Yeah, I grew up in Arkansas and played college football at the University of Central Arkansas. We did really well. We were co-national champions in '84 and '85, so that was exciting. After graduating from UCA, I graduated with a kinesiology degree. And so thought I might coach and teach special education. That was my minor. And I wound up going into sales and marketing. And I was with Walmart for a few years, and then national sales manager for Zebco, and then went to work in the pharmaceutical industry for 10 years. So spent 20 years in the corporate world, tie and jack and all that. And I left Abbott and then laboratories, and then I bought a fitness center. So my first try as an entrepreneur was open a fitness center, and we had a little over 2,000 members, and wound up selling that a few years later, and then I got to go to Africa for the next 18 months. And so
talk a little bit about that.
I'll tell you, that was very interesting to me. I've been out of the country a few times, but I'd never been to Africa. It's always been intriguing, especially Ethiopia. And
I gave the commencement speech there in 2019. The University OSU started,
which is crazy because I'm there, and I call Kayse. And so one mistake I did make, I did not get an international plan when I went. So I made a lot of expensive phone calls, but I said, Kayse, you're not going to believe it. I'm driving countryside outside of Addis Ababa, the capital, and it said OSU on the side of the building. And I was blown away. I said, you can't believe this. This is Oklahoma State. They're sponsoring or doing some sort of partnership with Ethiopia here. And I said, I had no idea. And but
it was Henry Bennett that got all this started.
Okay. It was incredible. And so the trip over there, my first time ever, I got to go see the boys, and that's where I met Clinton and Joseph, and got to go see. They were close to the Sudan border, and so I got to see where they lived, and we're going to school there. And so Ethiopia was way different than I expected. It's really mountainous, which I guess Addis is probably the tallest capital in the U.S., so that was interesting, or in Ethiopia. And it was just, it was an interesting time. It was really a humbling experience for me, and of course the boys have been awesome, so it's been really good.
A couple of them are pretty fast, aren't they?
They are. Joe, so quick story on Joseph, who's on the end. He was running cross country. And I just bought him, shoes. They're pretty expensive, $150, something like that. And it was about 3 weeks later that I needed a new pair of shoes. And I was like, what? I just bought those. And so I didn't know you could actually put miles on tennis shoes. And so we went to the foot store and the track store there. And she says, yeah, they're only good for about 500 to 600 miles. And then they're worn out. And Joe runs runs about 50 miles a week. And so I thought, well, that's about right. 8-10 weeks. I guess he does need a new pair of shoes. So, but yeah, he is. And Clinton was super fast. And actually, all of our kids were all athletes growing up. So they all play soccer and football and different things.
I know you all aren't mic'd, but maybe, you've got a mic. Good. Why don't you just say a little bit what you're doing and what your goals are?
Okay. My name is Colton. I'm looking to graduate here in May with University Studies. As much as this pains me to say, I hope to attend the OU Law School in the near future.
I did that.
That's all right. You're in good
it hurts a
company.
little bit.
Well, no, you'll be fine.
I'm Kendall. I also will be graduating in May. I'm University Studies in Agriculture. Currently on the job hunt. Sales, marketing, communication is kind of where I want to be.
That's a pretty good ad. Did you just
And I'm Clinton, and I am trying to study business and entrepreneurship, and I have not decided all the way that I really want to do that. Still undecided. If I see something that
I want to ask you and Joe, what was the experience, just quickly, did joining this family, coming to this strange country, did you speak English?
No, sir, I do not speak any English. It took a lot of tries, but one of the motivation that I got from my mother was that if I speak good English at the end of the year, she gave me a year. She said, "I will buy you a motorcycle, a dirt bike." So
Did you get it?
Yeah, I
In
did
about 6
everything I
months.
could
That wasn't
to
one of my
learn
more
English.
proud moments.
Well, a little bribery never hurt anything.
Yeah.
What he's not telling you was actually my motorcycle. That she did. So, but it was okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nick?
I'm Carson. I'm studying business administration.
Here at OSU.
NOC.
NOC, okay,
Yes.
great.
I'm Joseph. I'm a junior, majoring zoology pre-med.
Want to be a doctor?
I'm trying to go to PA school.
Yeah, great. Talk a little bit about your experience coming in. Now, were you two natural brothers?
No, we're not.
Okay.
But we knew each other since we were.
You did know each other?
Yeah. And I guess everything was new. Whenever
Did you speak any English?
I mean, I knew like hi and basic,
Can't get very far with
Yeah,
that.
no.
Great.
And yeah, it took us a while to.
That's fantastic. Monica, is this a good time to turn it over for questions? I don't know where Monica is. Brent? Yeah. Is this the time for questions?
It's a great time.
Okay.
I'll open that now for questions from the
Yeah, I want to ask the kids back there, what is it like now that you guys are going to have your mom as the president of your school?
It still really hasn't sunk in yet. It's surreal. When it all happened, we were all together. We had Kayse on FaceTime. There was lots of yelling and screaming and dancing and go pokes and all that kind of stuff.
Kind of like Baylor was last night.
Kind of like that.
Yeah, but it's awesome that we have this amazing mother who's done so much for us, and for her to get the opportunity to serve people and change students' life like she has changed ours is it's amazing. Like I said, it's surreal. It doesn't even feel like it's happening. So.
Dr. Shrum, you represent a lot to women who have seen this happen to you, and then to hear about your great family. A lot of women struggle trying to do it all. What is your message to women who really admire you for what you've done?
Yeah, I was really reflecting the other day. The first time I was on this campus, I was 13 years old. I was attending a softball clinic, and I remembered, we heard some noise, and we looked out the window of the Atherton, and it looked like they were all building forts. And my friend and I were trying to decide why they were building forts in the front yard, and I remember back to that day, and as that 13-year-old girl, I would have never imagined that I would be here today talking to all of you. I recognize the historic nature of this, and the fact that, almost immediately I have a following of a lot of women, and a lot of little girls want to take pictures with me. And I recognize it is a challenge. It's not easy to have a family and have a career. And I would just say, I hope that this moment inspires all of those women, young and old, to dream big. And if you want to have a family and a career, it's possible. But also to, cut yourself some slack. I remember as the kids were little, and it's real touching to hear them, talk about me. Because there are moments in time where I think regardless of whether or not you're a mom with a career, or you're a mom that stays home, we wonder if we're doing the right thing for our kids or if we're doing enough. I would just say to them that they're watching you regardless, and, you are doing enough. Cut yourself some slack. But dream big and go after those dreams. And, it is possible. So I recognize, what this appointment means to many people. And I'm so grateful for all the, women who've reached out and commented and been supportive, and everybody else. Men and women alike have commented. So it's a real privilege and an honor.
How would you say your time serving on Governor Stitt's cabinet helped prepare you for the role here?
I spent a lot of time in front of the press. Beyond that, no. I think what I learned during that time was that leadership is portable. We didn't know. There was no roadmap, and we had to make decisions and use our leadership skills in a way that solved problems day to day. And I think when you go through something like that, where I've said before, that experience was like somebody handing you a roadmap and saying, okay, every major highway is shut down, don't look at those. And now go, find the destination. When you really have to go through an experience like that, you gain a lot of confidence in your ability to problem solve, in leading, bringing people together. It was a big effort to kind of bring people together. So as much as leading, it's about getting people to come together. And I think the same thing is true at a university. And certainly, Burns knows you never know what problem you're going to be solving. But being consistent in your leadership, working with people, and really, knowing what's at the heart and why you're doing it is so important. And I think that experience that I had during the pandemic really has prepared me to sit in this seat.
Now that you're here in this position, you obviously deserve it, you've earned it, and, you're doing it. Have you felt or had to convince yourself that, you don't need to feel imposter syndrome? Have you felt any of that at all?
Well, I think, everyone probably feels that at some point in their life, in their career. I do think, having the previous experiences that I've had, I realize that, it isn't so much about imposter syndrome. It's about when you find yourself in a situation that you've never been in before, but taking, the experiences you've had before and that confidence of leading in prior, and just really giving yourself a little bit of grace and surrounding yourself with good people. And so, I understand. I think I've been in, those moments in time, probably in my first big leadership roles, thinking, I hope I can do this, or how did I end up here? but having that belief in yourself and just going forward and pressing on, you start to gain some self-confidence in those moments.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Very bad question. Do you have a mission or goal in mind going into this next year in your new role?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think kind of obviously the mission here is, the land-grant university. And for me, that land-grant mission of education, research, and service. And what I have so much enjoyed and want to continue to, use in this role is how we have been able to really transform that in a way that's been really relevant and meaning and enrich the students' experience, educational experience. So, in the beginning, I think I, have some time to kind of learn the campus and understand all the great things that are going on. And then we can start kind of doing some strategic planning all across the system so that we're, really pointed in the same direction. That I believe, that's kind of going to be the order number one. And then, of course, the fun part of getting to know the students and the faculty and staff and, really listening and learning about, what their interests are and how that can be incorporated into what we're doing in the future.
President Hargis, we're making history with hiring Dr. Shrum. How do you feel?
I'm gonna let you pull your mask down just a little bit.
Hi there.
Here.
You're making history by hiring Dr. Shrum, hiring a woman. We know she's qualified. We've talked to her over the years, but how do you feel about that?
Well, I didn't have the privilege of hiring Kayse as president. That's the Board of Regents' job. But I certainly was very supportive of her candidacy. And it's funny, I've thought about it through the years, and I've had a number of occasions where I have the opportunity to elevate a person in a position, and it always seemed almost coincidental that person was often a woman. And because of history and the way things have worked over the years, often it was the first woman that had that particular position. And it's not because I'm some raving, I'm all for all people, but I want the most qualified person. And in those cases, the woman was the most qualified. And I've never been disappointed, by the way, in what happened. So I'm pretty much gender blind when it comes to people, and as far as leadership and management and that kind of thing.
President Hargis, what's something that you wish that you knew going into your first year?
You want to be here all afternoon? I wasn't not from I was from the corporate world and the legal world. And the idea of shared governance was not anything I'd had much experience with. And I made some decisions that I should have been more collaborative in consulting other parts of the university. But I learned, and at a university, certainly a research university like OSU, there is the notion of and the goal of shared governance. And that means you need to talk to a lot of people before you make a decision. And that's something I wasn't used to. I think it's a good way to operate. I never thought you could just be, just edict in any position I've had. You really need to understand what people are thinking and what they're good at and what they're not very good at. And but I'd say that whole notion of shared governance was something I didn't understand. And when I canceled research without doing all that, I certainly tasted the sword.
Yeah, Dr. Shrum, I want to take you back to, you mentioned your first time on campus was at a softball camp. Mm-hmm. You're a former student athlete. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of interested in your thoughts on athletics and education at a major institution like Oklahoma State and what they can do for each other?
Well, as a student athlete, I certainly, understand. For me, it was the way that I got an education. And so I believe, that opportunity probably wouldn't have presented itself to me if it hadn't been for my athletic skills. I wouldn't have been where I am today. I also learned so much about hard work and persistence and winning graciously and losing graciously through all the years of athletics as well. So I think for the student athlete, there's a lot of opportunities there, and I think it puts them on a road for success. It is also what, athletics for a university is what brings people together. I mean, for some folks, the only thing they know about Oklahoma State University is our athletics. And so having student athletes and coaches that, really embody and embrace the culture and the values of Oklahoma State University is important. And it is, many times what, for me, it was the reason why I stepped foot on a university campus. So for many people, maybe even kids, that's going to be their first experience, and it opens their minds to possibilities of things that could never occur before. So, and from the university perspective, it's a great way to, bring people together from all across. I mean, there are a lot of colleges and people with different interests. But what's true about everyone at Oklahoma State University is they root for the Cowboys and the Cowgirls, and it really brings people together in a real special way. Obviously, it is a great, I think, opportunity for those who get to enjoy athletics, but it is as well for student athletes.
It's hard to get 60,000 people to show up for a math contest.
Yes, that's true.
Well, and follow up for both you and for President Hargis. He's served in a lot of really instrumental roles. Chairman of the Big 12 Conference. He's been on the, if I'm not mistaken, the NCAA's top management committee. How much do you see a continued relationship and exchange of information and dealing with all of the things, and I think President Hargis can throw this in, all of the things that cross your desk with athletics?
Yes. Yeah, well, so obviously that's going to be a new role for me from an administrative perspective about athletics. And so, as President Hargis said, he said he was going out to pasture, and I said, no, I don't know that you totally are. Hopefully, he will be around for a while to serve as a mentor and a go-to person for me. But yes, I mean, I would look forward to being involved in, NCAA in any, way that I possibly can to, help student athletes, help the university, however that capacity, whatever that looks like.
Your experience in athletics and how you might lend some support to Dr. Shrum?
Well, my timing wasn't great, Robert, as you know, because we were having the rearrangement of the Big 12 during my time as chairman, and that I don't know if it's because of me or why, but Nebraska and Colorado left, and then Texas A&M and Missouri left, and so that was pretty chaotic during those years, and trying to figure out our TV contracts and all the rest. With the NCAA, we've had, of course, this has been a number of volatile issues have come up. I talked to Mark Emmert yesterday about another couple of problems. But I have, as you know, such a regard for athletics. I think it's so important to the university, and it can be so, not only so helpful, it can be very harmful. I mean, if you don't play by the rules, you can get yourself into a deep hole to get out of. And as Kayse said, it's the front porch of the university. People will sometimes judge us school by the quality of their athletics, not their math department. I keep picking on math because my wife's a math major. But I've really enjoyed it. It's taken a lot more time than I thought it would. But I love sports, and I'd love to see student athletes grow and develop and mature and become successful in life.
For President Hargis, what kind of mentorship do you hope to emphasize to Dr. Shrum before she takes her role as president?
Well, I think before and certainly even the first few months after, it's a listening tour. You just need to meet a lot of people, listen to them, whether they're faculty, staff, students, alums, donors. You need to just listen and absorb the culture that you've got around you. For example, I'm proud of this. I've never, in 13 some odd years, ever turned down a meeting with a student. I want to know what our students think. And have they all been pleasant? No, not all. In fact, I have 2 students brought over their goldfish named Burns the other day, so that was fun. But I think that's a key thing and I know Kayse will do that. It's just, you've just got, don't make any big decisions. Now, sometimes things just get foisted on you and you can't avoid it. But I think kind of settling in is the way to take a new job.
Dr. Shrum, is there anything right now that you look at OSU and you think, I think that should change, or any other changes that you think that you want to see?
Besides me.
As I said, I think, under President Hargis' tenure, there's been a lot of amazing things going on. I probably bring, a different skill set and eyes to things, but as, President Hargis was saying, really, listening is a first order and understanding and maybe coming in with some ideas, but, I want to be real careful about answering that until I've had the opportunity to really learn and listen and understand kind of what's going on and whether, what I believe or the things that I want to implement will be right for Oklahoma State University.
This one's for Darren and the kids. I was wondering, if you guys wanted to share some sort of behind-the-scenes story about your mom. Do you think OSU students should know? Maybe you should brag about your mom.
Carson.
Be careful.
Yeah, they have to go home with me. That's
My mom thinks she is the funniest person ever, and she loves to laugh at her own jokes, and sometimes she can't even get them out because she's laughing so hard.
Go ahead.
Uh-oh.
If I say anything, I'll get grounded. So, Darren,
A little old for that. No, and I have to sleep with her tonight. So yeah, it's
or not.
Or not. That's right. So it's.
And Darren, you guys met at Walmart, right?
We did.
Your side of that story.
Yeah, when I graduated college, I went on the management development program, and they said I had to spend a few months out in Walmart stores before I went back to Bentonville, and so I happened to be in Broken Arrow, and a friend of mine, the manager of the store, we were standing there talking at the front, and she happened to walk in, and she had a white sports suit on. I remember exactly what she looked like, and I told the guy standing beside me, I said, I want to marry that girl right there. And he goes, well, you don't even know her. And I said, well, or one just like her, but I really like that one right there. And so lo and behold, a week or two later, she kept coming in, and so I introduced myself, and then we didn't really date at first, just were friends. And
what was she buying?
I have no idea.
I don't even remember.
I was willing to help, but I think the second and third visit she was just there.
Yeah.
So I think she just kept coming back. But yeah, that's exactly right. So.
Darren, why don't you tell them about her shoe collection?
Yeah.
So we built a new house about 11 years ago when the boys were coming, and so we had to rearrange things because we wanted the kids to have their own bedrooms and things like that. And so we built the closet downstairs, and I thought it was twice as large as we needed. And so what was funny, probably about 6 months ago, I had to totally move out of it because it's a shared closet. It's a big, nice walk-in closet. And so once the kids all went back to school last August, that opened up a few closets. So I moved all my stuff up. So she has probably 150 plus pairs of heels in various
Or
colors.
the Imelda Marcos of
Oh my
Coahuila.
gosh, it's
Yes.
and, you know, here's what's funny is she keeps them all in a box. I just take the box and throw them away. Where all of hers in her box, and she can just look at the outside and know exactly what color they are with what outfit they go with. So I'm like, well, okay.
So I'm a little OCD about my shoes because
About her shoes, that's right.
I keep the
So-
box so that I can see the label and I know what shoes are there. But yes, I love obviously high heel shoes. So orange are my favorite.
If I could keep it on Mr. Darren Trump for a second, what do you kind of envision or imagine contributing to Oklahoma State University? What are you most excited about?
You know, I've kind of had an interesting background. So OSU offers, growing up in Arkansas, you know a little bit about Oklahoma State, a little bit about OU, which if you're from Arkansas, they don't really like OU at all, so that was a natural progression for me when I moved here in 1994. But, you know, we've been fortunate enough to be involved with agriculture with the kids, you know, showing animals all across the state. Athletics, not OSU athletics, but, you know, I've been a fan since 94. And so there's just a thing that, like I said earlier, I've always worked with younger people. And I think they keep you young to start with, but I think just interacting with them and learning, because ultimately that's why colleges exist, for people to come and learn and grow and go out and make something of themselves. And that's something that I never want to lose sight of, because ultimately, you know, you have the fundraising and you have all these other issues, but when it really comes down to it, it comes down to your experience at OSU. You know, is it going to be positive or is it going to be negative? And so I just hope to be supportive any way I can to make sure that, you know, every person has a great experience, because, you know, I didn't go here. I will have probably 5 kids that graduate here at least. But it's just, it's one of those things that I just can't wait to get involved, honestly. I felt like this campus, when I first started coming here, like I said, I go back to 94 because that's when we moved back here from Arkansas. And the first time I walked on this campus, not even going here, and it just felt like a home. It was just a different vibe, a different feel. And I hope that never goes away, you know, and it's just awesome to be a part of that now, and hopefully just to keep that whole vibe and whole fit scene just like it is, just continue to grow and just continue to just to be there and try to be as helpful as possible, honestly. So.
You've got time for one more question.
Dr. Shrum, is there a perk of the job, you know, being president, that you're most excited about?
A perk or a part?
Like maybe Burns, you could tell us, you know, is there some sort of perk of the job, maybe if it's parking or anything like that you'd be most excited about?
You know, we haven't been able to do it this past year, but one of the things I did not expect that we really embraced was all of the foreign universities that OSU works with, all over the world. And we have students exchanges, we have various 2+2 programs, that kind of thing. And so over all these years, Ann and I have gotten to the privilege and opportunity to travel to these universities and keep these relationships strong. And that was, and we like that anyway. We enjoy learning new cultures, new foods, new you name it. But I mean, we've literally been all over the world over these 13 years, and that was an opportunity I didn't expect.